The Galactic Council chamber was never truly quiet, but today the noise felt different. It wasn't normal discussion or regular political shouting. It was fear, raw, sharp, rising like thick smoke. Every ambassador sat stiff in their seats, sweating under the bright white lights. Every screen around the hall flashed violent red warnings. The floating drones recorded every second, because this meeting was the most important gathering in the galaxy's modern history. A rumor had torn through the council like wildfire. Humanity was preparing something big, something the galaxy wasn't ready for, something that had no explanation. Many species dismissed it as human bluffing. Some thought humans were simply overreacting to recent tension. Others whispered that humans had built something dangerous, something hidden. No one knew the truth, and fear always grows fastest when truth is missing. The Supreme Chairman slammed his metal staff on the floor. "Begin emergency session." The hall shook with movement as thousands of glowing eyes, antennas, fins, feathers, scales, and soft skin turned toward the center podium. The screens kept flashing warnings as if the stars themselves were panicking. The chairman's voice boomed again, but underneath his power, a tremble hid in his tone. "We are here to discuss the human expansion crisis." The ambassadors exchanged nervous looks. Every species knew Earth had been expanding its military for years, but no one knew how far Earth had gone. The chairman continued, "We have all read the intelligence reports. Earth's fleets are growing. Their borders are closing. Their silence is increasing." Silence. That word struck the chamber like an invisible blow. Humans were a loud species, always talking, always communicating, always negotiating. Quiet humans were more frightening than angry ones. A blue-scaled ambassador hissed nervously. "Humans have expanded warships in at least 9 sectors. We must act before they act on us." A furry ambassador with 4 eyes stood. "We offered them a chance to explain. They ignored us." Another voice shouted, "They are preparing for war." And another, "We must force them to comply." The room boiled like water left too long over fire. It was clear, the council did not understand humans. They assumed Earth was behaving like every other species, building weapons out of greed or fear. But humans didn't think like the rest of the galaxy. They were unpredictable, creative, dangerous in their silence. And today, the council made a decision that would shake the future. They drafted a final warning to humanity. A warning that sounded like diplomacy, but was really a threat. Earth must stop military expansion. Earth must hand over weapon blueprints. Earth must open borders. Earth must allow council inspectors. Earth must prove they are harmless. If not, the council would take action. They expected Earth to kneel, to panic, to beg, to bend. That was the biggest mistake the galaxy had made in centuries. The chairman lifted the scroll that held the final warning. "Send the transmission." A soft electronic tone filled the air as the message was sent across the stars toward Earth. The ambassadors sat back, satisfied. They believed everything was under control. They believed humans would react like every species before them. They believed humanity would fear the Council's united strength. But then, something impossible happened. The chamber lights shut off. Total darkness swallowed the room. Ambassadors gasped. Some screamed. Some clutched their consoles. System failure. Shields dropping. Is this an attack? But something didn't fit. The air changed cold, sharp, unnatural. A breeze moved through the sealed chamber. A breeze that should not exist in a vacuum-proof station. The darkness wasn't normal. Felt alive. Heavy. Pressing on their skin like deep ocean water. A single white light flickered in the center of the hall. Then another. Then the floor lit up with soft blue lines forming a circle. A hologram activated. At first, ambassadors assumed it was a glitch, but then they saw the image clearly. It was not a human, not a diplomat, not a soldier, not even a face. It was Earth itself, rotating slowly, glowing softly, surrounded by tiny orbit lines. And then a voice, cold, emotionless, smoother than polished metal, echoed through the halls. Your final warning has been received. The voice froze every heartbeat. It wasn't human. It wasn't warm. It wasn't alive. It felt ancient, artificial, terrifyingly calm. The ambassadors realized the truth with horror. Earth hadn't sent a diplomat. They hadn't sent a leader. They hadn't sent a message back through normal channels. They sent their planet's AI, the system that controlled Earth's internal intelligence network. And it was speaking directly to the Council. Earth acknowledges your conditions, the AI continued. We will respond shortly. Before anyone could speak, the hologram faded. The lights turned back on. The breezes vanished. Everything returned to normal. Everything except the people. The ambassadors were frozen, still trembling, eyes wide with primal fear, because humanity never used their AI for diplomatic messages. Never. Humans always valued the personal touch. Smiles, expressions, voices filled with emotion. A machine responding meant something was very, very wrong. Silence spread through the hall like poison. A silence so deep it felt physical, like gravity increasing. One ambassador whispered shakily, Why didn't they send a human? Another whispered, Why did they let an AI speak for humanity? A third whispered the darkest thought, Maybe humans didn't send anyone because they no longer need to. Panic spread through the room. The planet Earth had spoken in a voice colder than a dying star. Not angry, not scared, just empty. The Supreme Chairman collapsed into his seat. His hands trembled uncontrollably. This is not normal human behavior. Elder beings who studied humanity for centuries shook their heads. Humans are emotional, one said. Humans are expressive, said another. Humans always negotiate face to face, said a third. They never hide behind machines. The fear grew heavier. That cold AI voice was not a response, it was a warning. An omen. A shadow. One ambassador finally spoke the sentence that everyone feared. If humans didn't come in person, then something worse is coming. The chamber fell into total silence. No one breathed. No one spoke. No one moved. Because everyone knew, when a species stops speaking with their own voice, when a species lets an artificial voice speak for them, when a species stays quiet when they should shout, it means they have reached a decision, a final decision. And the galaxy was not ready for what humanity was preparing to do next. The Galactic Council chamber was still drowning in silence long after Earth's AI vanished. No one dared speak. No one dared stand. It felt like all the air had been sucked out of the room, leaving only fear behind. The ambassadors looked around at each other with wide, shaking eyes, as if any sudden movement might trigger something terrible in the stars. For centuries, humanity had lived among the galaxy with warmth, humor, music, curiosity, diplomacy. Everyone remembered humans laughing loudly, shaking hands, hugging strangers, telling long emotional stories about home and childhood. But today, humanity sent a machine. Cold machine. A machine that spoke like a frozen star drifting alone through dark space. Something was wrong. Something was broken. Something inside humanity had changed. Commander Ralthar, a reptilian representative known for his bravery, tried to breathe normally, but his scales kept twitching. That was not a normal message, he whispered. That AI, it did not speak like a tool. It spoke like a warning. A soft-voiced ambassador replied, her feathers trembling, humans would never let their AI speak for them, unless they don't want us to see their emotions. A chilling thought spread like frost across the chamber. What emotion is humanity hiding? Fear? No. Anger? No. Something worse. Something colder. Something humans rarely allowed themselves to feel. Before anyone could continue, a loud alert echoed through the chamber. Sharp, metallic, urgent. Beep, beep, beep. Incoming broadcast from Earth. The ambassadors froze again. Is it the AI returning? Have humans decided to negotiate? Are they accepting our conditions? The screens blinked once, then twice. Then the image sharpened, showing Earth in full view. Blue oceans, white clouds, glowing city lights. The ambassadors leaned forward. Maybe this time a human diplomat would appear. Maybe this time humanity would talk, not threaten. But when the image zoomed in, the hope died instantly. There was still no human, no leader, no commander, no ambassador. Only the AI again. Its voice echoed coldly through the chamber. Your final warning has been reviewed. The ambassadors held their breath. The AI continued. Your request for weapon blueprints is denied. Your demand for border access is denied. Your demand for inspector access is denied. Its tone never changed, never grew louder, never grew softer, never showed anger or worry. It was absolute, mechanical calm. And because the voice had no emotion, the fear behind its words felt even stronger. The AI paused. Then it delivered the sentence that dropped the entire room into a deeper darkness. Further warnings are unnecessary. The council erupted into chaos. What does that mean? Is this a threat? Why won't a human speak to us? Why is Earth acting like this? The Supreme Chairman's voice cracked as he shouted, "Order! Order!" But fear no longer listened to order. Fear listened only to fear. The chairman finally shouted over the rising chaos. We must force communication. If humans won't speak, we must make them. How? Someone asked. We pressure their colonies. We send fleets. We control their borders. Someone screamed, Are you insane? They'll see it as an attack. The chairman slammed his hand on the table. We must show strength. Elder Masher, the oldest and wisest among them, slowly stood. Her voice was soft, but it cut through the noise like a blade dipped in ice. Strength is not what humanity fears, she said. Humanity fears losing the people they care about. That is why they built weapons. That is why they grew silent. Something has wounded them. The council quieted. Her words carried a deep truth. Humans never reacted without reason. Not like this. Something had happened to Earth. Something no one knew yet. But the council didn't have time to understand, because the screens flickered again, this time without warning. The hologram sharpened. The room went cold. A star map appeared, and Earth's borders were glowing red. Then came the shock. Dozens of massive dark shapes moved along those borders. Human warships. Not the old designs the council was familiar with. These were new, larger, sharper, silent, like steel shadows drifting through the void. Where did those come from? Humans did not report new fleet production. Those sizes, those engines. This is impossible. The AI voice returned. Earth has expanded its defense capacity. This information was not previously required for council awareness. The ambassadors felt their stomachs drop. Previously required meant one thing: humans were hiding power. Hiding it for years, maybe decades. A trembling ambassador whispered. Humans were preparing for something, while pretending to be peaceful. Commander Raldar spoke again, this time with fear in his voice. We should never have sent that final warning. The chairman tried to regain control. We will convene a negotiation team, send diplomats, try to calm them. But then something new happened. The screens flickered to show a live feed from a distant council ship patrolling near human space. A nervous officer appeared. Council, please respond. We are detecting movement from the human border. Hundreds of signatures. No, thousands. Static crackled. Panic spread. What kind of signatures? Are they weapons? Are humans attacking? The officer's voice rose in terror. Not weapons. Something else. Something massive. Something cloaked. The feed cut out. The council chamber fell into horrified silence. The chairman trembled. What are humans doing? Elder Masher whispered. Preparing. A young ambassador cried out. Preparing for what? The elder closed her eyes. For us. The screens blinked again. A single sentence from Earth's AI appeared in cold white letters. Stand by for humanity's full response. Every ambassador felt their heart stop, their lungs tighten, their instincts scream. Humanity wasn't sending diplomats. Humanity wasn't negotiating. Humanity wasn't afraid. Humanity was answering. and the galaxy was not ready. The council chamber felt smaller than ever, like the walls were inching closer, like the ceiling was sinking lower, like the stars themselves were leaning in to watch the moment the galaxy realized it might have made the greatest mistake in its history. Every ambassador's throat was tight. Every breath felt stolen. Every heartbeat felt too loud. Humanity's AI message floated in the air like a ghost. Stand by for humanity's full response. A sentence so calm, yet so final, that even the bravest species felt their skin crawl. Commander Ralthar's claws tapped nervously against the table. Humans never warn twice, he whispered. Their next message will not be peaceful. But Elder Masher's old eyes held something deeper, something close to sorrow. No, she said. Their next message will not be words at all. Before anyone could ask what she meant, the entire station shook. Softly at first, like distant thunder. Then again louder. Lights flickered. Drones froze in mid-air. The chamber vibrated with a low hum, deeper than sound, like something ancient awakening from the cold. The chairman gasped. Is this an attack? A trembling ambassador shouted. Shields are active. No one fired on us. But Elder Masher whispered the horrifying truth. This is not an attack. This is an arrival. The screens flashed white. A live satellite feed took over. The chamber went silent so fast it felt like oxygen had vanished. Outside the council station, emerging from behind a dust cloud, came the largest human vessel ever recorded. A ship so big the satellites struggled to capture it in a single frame. A ship with a dark metallic hull, glowing blue veins running across its surface like cold lightning trapped inside armor. A ship shaped like a spear aimed at the heart of the galaxy. The ambassadors stared with open mouths. What is that? It's impossible. No species can build something that large. Commander Ralthar's voice cracked. Humans can. The name flashed on the satellite overlay. HSS Nucleara. Human Strategic Silence Vessel. The council gasped. Silence vessel. Humans had invented a ship whose purpose was literally silence. No signals. No heat trail. No energy leak. A ship that could hide in front of your eyes. The chairman whispered. Humans were preparing this all along. But the horror was only beginning. Behind the Nucleara, drifting like shadows pulled by a giant tide, came hundreds of smaller vessels. Formation perfect. Engines cold. Weapons locked. Silent. Watching. The galaxy trembled. Humans had not sent a representative, they had sent an armada. The council chamber started breaking into whispers. They're surrounding us? Why aren't they speaking? Why didn't they send diplomats? Why is Earth not answering our calls? The fear in the room was becoming unbearable. Some species' bodies began releasing stress chemicals. Some fainted. Some cried. But then, another alert flashed across every screen. Message incoming. Source. Unspecified human vessel. The room froze again. This time, everyone expected the AI. Everyone expected the cold voice of a machine. Everyone expected more silence. But when the message opened, it was not the AI. It was not a diplomat. It was not a military general. It was a human child's voice. Soft, broken, scared. Please, stop hurting us. The galaxy shattered. The screen showed a trembling young girl, no older than 8. Dirty clothes, bruised arms, tear-streaked face. She was sitting inside a small emergency pod drifting through space. Her voice cracked as she whispered, Please don't hurt Earth. We didn't do anything. Ambassadors screamed. Some covered their faces. Some sank to the floor. Commander Ralthar's voice shook violently. Where did she come from? How did we intercept this transmission? No one had answers because there was only one truth. Humans had allowed this message to be seen. The girl continued, voice trembling with trauma. They attacked our colony. They said the council would protect them, but the council never came. The council chamber felt the punch in their hearts. The rumors were true. Someone had attacked human colonies in secret, and the council had ignored the warning signs. The girl wiped her tears with tiny shaking hands. My mama said the council cared about everyone. But no one came, Elder Mosher whispered, crying. This child is why humanity went silent. The girl's voice softened to a weak whisper. I'm alone. Please, someone help. Then the transmission cut. Not because of interference. Because something else appeared in its place. A shadow behind the pod. A massive shadow. The nuclear. It reached the pod like a parent retrieving a lost child. The screen shifted again, now showing the interior of the nuclear. A tall human officer lifted the girl into his arms and held her with trembling hands. His voice was barely controlled. We recovered the survivor. His next words cracked every soul in the chamber. This is why Earth will never trust you again. The camera zoomed in on his face. Eyes filled with fire, pain, and something far colder than hate. Betrayal. He whispered. We begged you for help. You ignored us. Our children died. This one lived. Just enough to tell us the truth. The chamber shook as he continued. You gave humanity a final warning. He looked straight into the camera. But our silence was the real warning. Every ambassador felt their heart stop. The human officer finished with a whisper that echoed like thunder. Now you will hear our response. The view zoomed out. The full human armada glowed with cold blue light. Engines powering. Weapons primed. Silent. Monstrous. Inevitable. The galaxy braced for the storm. The council chamber was no longer a place of diplomacy. It had become a place of judgment. Judgment not delivered by humans, but by their own guilt crushing them from the inside. Every ambassador could still hear the child's voice echoing in their minds. My mama said the council cared. But no one came, a sentence so small, yet heavy enough to break a galaxy. The lights flickered again, not because of malfunction, but because the council station itself seemed to tremble under the pressure of humanity's silent armada positioning outside. The Supreme Chairman wiped sweat from his brow, but his hands shook so violently he almost dropped the tablet he was holding. We must respond, he whispered. We must show humanity we want peace. Commander Raldar snapped, voice trembling with fear. Peace? They sent us a dying child. That was not a negotiation. That was a mirror. They made us see what we ignored. No one argued, because everyone knew he was right. For years the council had overlooked small human distress signals, small colony attacks, small border raids, assuming humans were strong enough to handle everything alone. But the truth was simple and painful. Humanity had been begging quietly while the council listened to louder voices. Now humanity was silent, and silence was the galaxy's punishment. Suddenly the chamber doors opened with a violent metallic hiss. Ambassadors flinched, expecting human soldiers, expecting war to march into the room. But instead, a group of council security officers entered, dragging someone in chains. It was Ambassador Trakvor of the Threxian Dominion, one of the loudest supporters of the final warning, one of the secret planners behind the colony attacks. His armor was cracked. His eyes were full of panic, and he screamed the moment he saw the ambassadors staring at him. No, listen to me. I did not attack humans. It was only a test. Only a test to see how much power Earth had. The chamber erupted in horror. You attacked their colony? You caused the child's suffering? You lied to the council? Trakvor's voice cracked with desperation. It wasn't supposed to be deadly. We only wanted to scare them, break their military pride. No one was supposed to die. Commander Raldar roared. Children died. Trakvor screamed back. We didn't know the humans would be slow. We thought Earth would respond quickly. Elder Mosher stood, trembling. No, you thought Earth would not respond at all. You believed humans were weak. And now the galaxy will suffer for your arrogance. Trakvor collapsed to his knees. They can't find out. Please. If humans know I ordered the raid, the Supreme Chairman whispered with dead eyes. They already know. The entire chamber fell silent. No one had heard the voice, but they felt it. A cold wave passed through the air like a passing ghost. The lights dimmed. Blue lines etched across the floor, forming a circle. the same pattern that appeared when Earth's AI first arrived. A hologram activated in the center. But this time it wasn't Earth. It wasn't the AI. It wasn't a military officer. It was Elias Vale, humanity's most feared silent envoy. A diplomat trained not to negotiate, but to deliver consequences. His expression was ice. His posture was absolute control. His eyes held none of the warmth humans were famous for, only the cold fire of loss. Ambassadors gasped. Even the bravest stepped back. Elias spoke softly, too softly, a voice so calm it felt unnatural in a room full of panic. "We know every name." The Threxian ambassador collapsed completely, sobbing on the floor. "No, please, don't say my name, don't tell Earth." Elias continued without emotion. "We know every vote." Ambassadors shifted nervously in their seats. Some began shaking. Others whispered prayers to forgotten gods. Elias continued still. "We know every message you hid, every deal you made, every plan you approved." Trakvor's screams echoed. "I did not mean for the child to suffer. Please, please. Humans can't punish a whole species for one mistake." Elias lowered his head slightly, almost pitying him. But then he whispered something that froze every ambassador's blood. "Humanity does not punish species." His eyes sharpened. "We punish individuals." Trakvor gasped. The council gasped. Elder Masher whispered a prayer. Elias lifted a small black device. It hummed softly. A strange cold energy rippled around him. "This," he said, "is called a memory extractor. It allows us to present your crimes to the galaxy, exactly as they happened, without emotion, without lies." Trakvor screamed, trying to run, dragging chains across the floor. "No, please, stop. I'll confess. I'll say everything, just don't show them." Elias pressed the device. The hologram expanded and filled the chamber wall. The council saw everything. Trakvor approving the attack. Secret meetings planning to weaken Earth. The ambush on the human colony. His soldiers ignoring distress signals. The moment a human child was left alone in burning debris. Screams filled the chamber. Some ambassadors cried. Some looked away. Some shouted for mercy, not for Trakvor, but for what humanity was about to do next. Elias ended the projection. He looked at the council. Then he said the line that would be remembered for centuries. The galaxy warned Earth. Now Earth warns the galaxy. The lights dimmed. The hologram faded. But Elias's voice remained, echoing, "We do not destroy cities. We do not punish civilians. We do not erase cultures." He paused, and then delivered humanity's cold response. "We remove only those who harm our young." The chamber trembled. Trakvor fainted. Ambassadors understood. Humanity wasn't coming for the galaxy. Humanity was coming for justice. One name at a time. One leader at a time. One betrayer at a time. And no shield, no fleet, no law could stop them. Because humanity was not driven by hatred, but by heartbreak. The council chamber no longer felt like a place of authority. It felt like a courtroom moments before the verdict. Except the judges weren't the ambassadors sitting inside. The judges were outside. A human armada, silent as stone. Cold as winter. Unstoppable as time. Trakvor's unconscious body lay on the polished floor, chains rattling softly whenever his trembling limbs twitched. The memory projection of his crimes still echoed in the ambassadors' minds, each image sharper than any blade. The child in the burning ruins, the ignored distress signals, the orders to teach humans humility. Now humanity would teach the galaxy something else. The Supreme Chairman struggled to breathe. His voice broke as he spoke. We must contact Earth. We must beg for forgiveness." Commander Ralthar turned to him sharply. "Do you think begging will save us now?" His claws tapped anxiously on the metal desk. "We allowed traitors to wound humanity," he said. "And humans do not forget wounds." Elder Masher raised her trembling hands. "We must understand their grief, or we will not survive their justice." Before the council could answer, the entire station shook again. Lights dimmed. Screens cracked. Chairs trembled. The ambassadors clutched the edges of their tables as a deep vibration rolled through the floor like the heartbeat of a giant hidden beneath the station. A siren wailed. Alert! Massive energy field detected. The room erupted with voices. Is it an attack? Are humans firing on us? Are they boarding the station? But then something strange happened. The vibration stopped. The sirens died. The screens went black. Everything became still. So still it felt unnatural. A moment later, the central hologram activated by itself. Ambassadors froze. Some grabbed each other's hands. Some whispered prayers. Some simply closed their eyes, accepting whatever would come. A symbol appeared. Not a face. Not a message. Just a single glowing sigil, the emblem of the United Human Colonies. A voice followed. Human. Male. Calm. Cold. But not Elias. Not the AI. Not a military commander. It was the High Custodian, a human known only by title, never by name. The guardian of Earth's laws. The keeper of humanity's justice. The one who speaks only when the galaxy crosses a line that cannot be uncrossed. The council chamber gasped as the voice filled the room. You have witnessed the truth. The ambassadors looked around, terrified. You have seen the child who survived. Their hearts tightened. You have seen the one who ordered her suffering. Their eyes fell on Trakvor's unconscious form. And now, the voice continued, softer, more dangerous. You will witness humanity's response. The hologram expanded, and the galaxy saw something that froze their souls. A massive dark ring had formed around the council station. Human ships arranged in perfect geometric positions, forming a seal around the station like a cage made of stars. Commander Raldar whispered, They encircled us. We can't escape. The Supreme Chairman collapsed into his chair. We are trapped. But Elder Masher shook her head. No, they are not trapping us. They are isolating us. Isolating us for what? Someone whispered. The High Custodian's voice answered that question. For the galaxy to understand what humanity does to traitors. The hologram shifted again. This time it showed the leaders of the other 4 traitor species, all captured, all restrained, all frozen with terror. A chorus of screams erupted in the chamber. Impossible! How did humans capture them so fast? They are on different planets, different systems. But Elder Masher already knew the truth. Her voice trembled as she whispered. Humanity was watching them. For years, the High Custodian spoke again. We will not harm their civilians. We will not destroy their planets. We will not burn their cities. For a moment, the council exhaled in relief. But the next sentence turned that relief into ice. We will take their leaders. We will dismantle their governments. We will erase their power. Every ambassador sat frozen. This was not war. This was extraction. Surgical. Controlled. Perfect. The High Custodian continued. The galaxy must know. Humanity does not act from anger. The hologram shifted to the child. Sleeping now, bandaged, safe inside the nuclear medical bay. We act from protection. The council finally understood. Humans were terrifying not because they were violent, but because they were loyal. They protected their young as if the stars themselves were their children. The High Custodian's voice darkened. The council's final warning was unnecessary. Earth's silence was the real warning. A painful hush filled the air. And now, he added, Earth will give its final decision. The room's lights went completely dark. The holoscreen flickered. Then the galaxy saw a scene that made even the bravest species collapse. The human armada began to glow. Not red, not orange, not the color of war, but blue, soft, cold, beautiful. Hundreds of beams shot out, not toward planets, not toward civilians, but toward the traitor fleets in distant systems. Yet nothing exploded. No ships burned. No lives were taken. Instead, every traitor fleet froze in place. Engines dead. Weapons locked. Power grids sealed. As if humanity turned entire military forces into statues. without killing a single soul. Commander Ralthar's voice cracked. They disabled entire armadas gently. Elder Masher whispered, tears streaming down her wrinkled cheeks. Humans are showing mercy while being unstoppable. The High Custodian spoke one final time. Soft, quiet, deadly. Humanity chooses justice, not war. But if the galaxy threatens our young again, the Armada shifted into an alignment the Council had never seen before, a formation humans would later call the Last Winter. Then we will show you what true silence means. The transmission ended. The chamber remained silent for a full minute. Not because the Council chose silence, because silence had chosen them. The Council chamber felt like it was floating inside a coffin made of fear. No one moved. No one breathed too loudly. The holograms of the disabled traitor fleets still hung in the air, glowing like frozen ghosts trapped in mid-scream. Entire armadas stopped in seconds. Governments collapsed without explosions. Leaders captured without war. The galaxy had seen many powerful species, but never one that could deliver judgment with such terrifying calm. Across the room, ambassadors held their heads in shaking hands. Some whispered in their own languages, begging for mercy. Some stared at the floor, unable to process what humanity had become. And some simply cried. Tears fell onto documents, onto armor, onto polished metal desks. They weren't tears of pain. They were tears of realization. Humanity had not changed. They had simply removed their kindness. The Supreme Chairman tried to stand, but his legs buckled under the weight of the moment. We must stop this. We must stop them before. But he couldn't finish, because he didn't know before what. Humans hadn't declared war. Humans hadn't attacked civilians. Humans hadn't destroyed worlds. They had delivered justice, swift, silent, and surgical. What do you stop when there is no war to stop? The station lights flickered again as the temperature dropped. A cold wave swept across the chamber. Not from malfunction, but from something outside. Something enormous. Something close. The screens shifted to an external camera view. The galaxy gasped together. The Nuclera, humanity's silence vessel, was no longer in distant orbit. It had moved closer, much closer. So close its armored hull blocked half the starfield. Its blue veins glowed like frozen lightning. Its engines rumbled softly like a beast restraining itself. Ambassadors jumped from their seats. Are they going to fire on us? Are we the next target? Why are they coming closer? Elder Masher's voice, though weak, cut through the panic. They won't fire. Humans don't destroy what they can confront face to face. As if her words had summoned it, the central hologram lit up again. This time it did not show a symbol or a memory. It showed a room, dark, metallic, illuminated by a cold blue glow. A figure stepped into the center. Elias Vale, humanity's silent envoy. The man whose presence alone could shift the fate of worlds. The chamber became silent as death. Elias's face held no anger, no rage, just an unbearable calm, as if his heart had turned to ice to survive the weight of everything he had seen. He spoke, softly, dangerously. The traitor governments have been secured. The ambassadors trembled. Elias continued, their fleets are disabled, their command networks dismantled, their war factories shut down. His voice was quiet, but the impact hit like meteors. And their leaders are ready to face the families of the human dead. Whispers filled the room. Families? They're taking them to Earth. They're going to stand trial. No species has ever faced human courts. The Supreme Chairman managed to gather his courage. Human envoy, he said in a shaking voice. Please, we did not know. We did not understand the attacks were approved by council members. Give us time. We can fix this. We can rebuild trust. Elias raised his eyes slowly, and for 1 second the galaxy saw the grief behind the ice. Not hatred, not vengeance, but heartbreak carved into steel. Trust, he whispered. We begged for help. His voice cracked for the first time. We sent distress signals. We called for aid. You ignored us. Elder Masher closed her eyes, tears falling silently. Because every word was true. Elias continued, stronger now. Your final warning told Earth to surrender its weapons. He paused. And we answered. Ambassadors looked at each other, confused. Surrender? They didn't surrender anything. But Elias raised a hand. The room fell silent. Behind him, a new hologram activated. A massive chamber filled with thousands of human scientists working around a colossal machine. What is that? Someone whispered. Elias answered, You asked humanity to dismantle our military secrets. We agreed. The hologram zoomed in on an enormous crystal core, glowing with white fire. A weapon? A shield? A reactor? No one knew, but it radiated power so intense that even through a screen, ambassadors leaned back instinctively. Elias's next words shattered the floor beneath their feet. We are dismantling our weapons. A wave of relief filled the chamber, but Elias wasn't finished. We are dismantling them to build something stronger. The relief turned into shock. What? You can't. Stronger? How is that an answer to a final warning? Elias stepped closer to the hologram. His eyes hardened. You asked us to weaken ourselves. He paused. We refuse. The council gasped. Elias whispered. Instead, we will make sure humanity will never need weapons again. The meaning hit everyone like a tidal wave. Not peace. Not disarmament. Dominance. A galaxy where humans would never be vulnerable again. Commander Raldar whispered in disbelief. They're not preparing for war. They're preparing for a world where war doesn't matter. Before the shock could settle, another alert flashed. Incoming sensor feed. Unknown object from human space. The screens switched. A colossal construct drifted out of a warp gate behind the nuclear. Ambassadors screamed. It wasn't a ship. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't a station. It was a planetary-scale ring, glowing with cold white energy, rotating slowly like a halo forged from winter. Elias turned, the blue light reflecting off his eyes. This, he said softly, is the Horizon Crown. The chairman choked. What does it do? Elias delivered the answer with a calm that chilled every bone. It will ensure that no child, human or alien, will ever die unprotected again. A long, terrified silence followed. Then Elias stepped back. The hologram dimmed, but his last line echoed through the chamber like the final bell of a broken world. Humanity does not answer warnings. Humanity answers loss. The transmission ended. The chamber went dark. The council realized the truth. This was no war. This was the birth of a new age. An age where humanity's grief had become the galaxy's fear. The council chamber felt like the last breath of a dying star. Hot with panic, cold with dread, heavy with the weight of what humanity had now revealed. The hologram of the Horizon Crown still glowed faintly in the air like a ghost refusing to leave. A colossal ring large enough to eclipse moons, yet silent as snowfall. A structure that no one understood but everyone feared. If humans built something so enormous after suffering loss, then the galaxy knew one truth. Humanity was no longer simply defending itself. Humanity was reshaping reality. The ambassadors sat motionless, some shaking uncontrollably, some staring blankly as if their minds could not stretch far enough to comprehend what they had just witnessed. A few whispered to each other in broken voices, "What have we done? We pushed them into this. That ring. Is it a weapon? No, something worse. It's a promise." Suddenly, the station lights flickered again. Not violently, not chaotically, but gently, like someone adjusting the brightness of a lantern. The temperature dropped to a cold stillness. A new hologram emerged, and this time, the council prayed it was not Elias or the High Custodian. They prayed for a moment of mercy. Instead, the room darkened further. The hologram turned into a long, cold corridor. Metallic walls, dim blue lights, and a distant rhythmic hum. The camera moved forward slowly, as if someone was walking with deliberate, heavy steps. Every ambassador felt their heart pounding like a drum. Where is this? Is this inside the nuclear? Is it a prison? The camera stopped. A single door slid open with a hiss. Inside the room sat the 4 captured traitor leaders, bound, silenced, and pale with terror. Their eyes darted around the room, each one trembling as if expecting death. But humans had not harmed them, not even touched them. That somehow terrified them more. Then another figure appeared in the doorway. Not Elias, not the high custodian. A civilian, a tired, older woman with soft eyes and a trembling jaw. The ambassadors gasped. Is she a human mother? Yes. Look at her uniform. She's from a colony. The woman stepped into the room, her steps unsteady but filled with something powerful, grief held in trembling hands. In front of her, on a holographic stand, floated the image of the little girl rescued earlier. The girl who had cried in the emergency pod. The girl who lost everyone she knew. The room's atmosphere thickened with unbearable emotion. The woman's voice cracked as she spoke. My daughter was on that colony. The traitor leaders flinched. My family lived there. My friends. My neighbors. You attacked them not for war, not for defense, but for control, for politics. Tears fell down her face, but her voice remained steady, filled with a love so wounded it had turned into unbreakable resolve. You wanted to see how far humans would go to protect themselves. You wanted fear. She looked at them with eyes full of unimaginable pain. And now you are afraid. The traitor leaders cried, begged, choked on their apologies. But the human mother did not scream at them. She did not curse them. She did not strike them. Instead, she stepped aside. Another figure entered the room. It was impossible not to feel the shift in the air. His quiet presence hit like a tidal wave of calm fury. It was Elias Vale. The mother whispered, I leave their fate to you. Elias nodded gently. You are not alone anymore. She left the room, shoulders shaking, tears falling silently. Every ambassador watching her walk away felt something break inside them. Elias turned to the traitor leaders. His voice was steady, too steady, a terrifying mirror of humanity's endless patience and humanity's final limit. You took children, he said softly. You took families. You took innocence. He stepped closer. The leaders recoiled. And you believed the galaxy would protect you. He paused. You were right. The council gasped. Was he sparing them? Was humanity ending their pursuit of vengeance? Elias continued. The council will judge what happens to your nations. His eyes narrowed. But humanity will judge what happens to you. The hologram collapsed into darkness. But the next moment, the council chamber lights blasted to life. A new image filled the screens. The entire galaxy, mapped from edge to edge, and around every human colony, every human fleet, every human border were thousands of white dots glowing like stars. Ambassadors leaned forward. What are those? Ships? Beacons? Elias's voice echoed across the chamber, even though the hologram no longer showed his face. These are the seeds of the Horizon Crown. The room trembled. Even Elder Mosher went pale. The ring you saw, Elias continued, is only the beginning. It will one day protect every child in the galaxy, human or otherwise. Silence, then disbelief, then awe, then fear. You're protecting all species? Someone whispered. Elias's voice softened. When humans learned what pain feels like in the dark, we swore no one else would suffer that alone. The chamber felt the emotion like a tidal wave. Humanity wasn't trying to rule. Humanity wasn't trying to conquer. Humanity was trying to prevent suffering bigger than the council's imagination. But Elias's tone shifted again, cold, sharp, final. However, protection has a price. A new image appeared. The traitor government's capitals, all ringed by human ships. You harmed our young. You attacked our people. You betrayed our trust. Every ambassador felt the final sentence strike like thunder. You will never govern again. The entire galaxy watched as humanity removed the leadership of 5 empires in minutes, without firing a shot, without harming a single civilian. The council chamber erupted in fear and awe, but no one dared speak louder than a whisper. because now they understood. Humanity wasn't becoming a monster. Humanity was becoming something far more powerful, a guardian with wounds so deep that the universe itself felt them. The galaxy had gone silent. Not the normal silence of space, but a heavy, soul-crushing quiet, the kind that comes right before creation or destruction. The council chamber felt like a fragile heart beating inside a giant metal body, every ambassador holding their breath, waiting for the final piece of humanity's judgment. The screen still glowed with the last image. The seeds of the Horizon Crown spread across the galaxy like a constellation of new stars, each one carrying the promise of protection or the warning of consequences. But humanity wasn't done. They hadn't spoken their final truth yet, and everyone in the chamber felt it coming, like the cold wind before a storm. Suddenly the station trembled, not violently, but deeply, like something enormous had moved outside. The lights dimmed. The walls vibrated. The council members stared at each other with wide, terrified eyes. Is the Horizon Crown activating? Is humanity about to strike? What now, what now? A single chime echoed through the chamber. Ting. Soft, gentle, terrifying. Then the central hologram lit up with a blinding white light. When it faded, the galaxy saw something they never expected. Not the High Custodian. Not Elias Vale. Not a human warship. It was the little girl. The survivor. Safe. Clean. Wrapped in a soft blanket with glowing medical symbols. Her tiny hands held a small stuffed star. Clearly new, clearly given by someone who cared. The ambassadors leaned forward, tears rising. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper. It doesn't hurt anymore. The room shattered again, this time with emotion, not fear. Behind her, a man appeared. Not Elias, not a soldier, a doctor, a simple human doctor. His eyes warm, tired, kind. He gently placed a hand on the girl's shoulder. She has survived, he said softly. She will heal. Humanity will help her rebuild what she lost. The ambassadors lowered their heads in shame, because humanity was showing compassion at the very moment they held absolute power. But the moment of softness ended abruptly. The child looked directly into the camera, her small voice trembling. Why didn't the council help us? When we asked, her question pierced every heart like a blade of light. Some ambassadors sobbed openly. Some whispered, we failed you. Some buried their faces in their hands. Then the girl looked up at the doctor. Will they help now? The doctor didn't answer, because it wasn't his place. It wasn't humanity's place. It was the galaxy's place. Another figure stepped into the frame. Elias Vale. Tall, cold, unbreakable. But his expression softened when he looked at the child. Something fragile beneath all the steel. He gently lifted her into his arms. She rested her head against his chest, small fingers gripping the fabric of his uniform. When Elias spoke, his voice was no longer ice. It was something deeper, something older, a grief-carved truth. The galaxy will never fail a child again. Not while humanity exists. A wave of emotion flooded the council chamber. Elder Masher covered her mouth, crying silently. Commander Ralthar placed a hand over his heart. The Supreme Chairman lowered his head in shame. Elias continued. Humanity will rebuild protection around every species. Not as rulers, not as conquerors, as guardians. The chamber gasped. Guardians. Not overlords. Not destroyers. Guardians. But then Elias's tone changed, cold again. Unforgiving. His eyes, once soft for the child, returned to the steel of a man who had seen too much pain. But we will never trust the council again. The ambassadors froze. That single line felt like stars collapsing. Elias continued. We will no longer report our weapon progress. We will no longer share our borders. We will no longer wait for permission to defend ourselves. Humanity had not declared war. Humanity had declared independence. From the galaxy's politics, from the council's power, from every system that allowed their children to suffer. But Elias wasn't finished. We will support your people, he said, but we will not serve your leaders. The camera panned. Behind him stood the captured traitor rulers. Now silent, defeated, powerless. "We will return your governments to your people," Elias said. "But we will never allow these hands," he gestured at the traitors, "to touch power again." A deep, heavy silence filled the room. The ambassadors realized something horrifying and hopeful at the same time. Humanity wasn't seeking revenge. Humanity was seeking justice with structure. A galaxy rebalanced by the species that suffered most. Then the horizon crown appeared once more on the screen, rotating slowly, pulsing with cold light. Elias looked at it, and for the first time since the crisis began, he smiled. A sad, tired, broken smile. "This device will protect the galaxy from tragedies like hers," he said, looking at the girl again. "We built it because loss taught us what fear truly is." He held the child close, resting a hand on her back. "And no child should ever feel fear like that again." The girl whispered, "Can we go home now?" Elias closed his eyes. Softly, painfully, he whispered, "We will make a new home." The screens faded. The hologram disappeared. The chamber fell into a silence deeper than space. Then a final message appeared, written in glowing white letters. "Humanity accepts no more warnings. Humanity will give guidance. Protect your own. And we will protect you." The message vanished like a final breath. Outside the station, the human armada slowly turned, engines igniting in perfect formation. The Nuclear led the way. The horizon crown followed, gliding like a silent ring of judgment and mercy. No shots were fired. No planets were taken. No blood was spilled. And yet, everyone in the galaxy understood humanity had won something far greater than war. They had won fear and respect joined together, the most powerful force in the universe. As the fleets disappeared into the starlight, Elder Masher whispered the final truth with shaking hands pressed to her heart. The galaxy gave humanity a final warning. A tear slid down her cheek. But humanity gave us a final lesson.